let's go ahead and review what we discussed on Friday. We discussed a certain kind and style of graphs. These are graphs that represent and organize data. Let's look at the three tools that we discussed: tally chart, a frequency table, and line plot. Now, line plots are not new to you. You've used them, and maybe you even used them in the first or second grade. Tally charts, we use tally charts when we're taking a vote. I want to show you a frequency table that I created from one transition in our classroom. If you look, it's the first time directions are given, so I call it first time direction. And if you'll note, it's from 0 to 5, and that indicates counting from starting when I gave the instructions, 0 to 5, how many students responded and followed the directions in that count. So if you look correctly, by 3, most students had all responded and were ready and prepared. 4, I still had 2, and 5, I still had the last 2. Now, if you look at the check marks and count them, ladies and gentlemen, there are 23 students in our class, and there are 23 check marks. This is information that identifies the number of students in our class and how they respond to a direction. It's really clear that by 3, count of 3, most students are prepared and ready to go. Okay, we also discussed this particular tally chart and line plot. So if you look again, they've taken the information from the tally chart and simply organized it on a line plot so that it is easy to access the information. It is clear. We don't even have to take a count to identify that there are more students older than 9 that are playing basketball than younger. And that's simply just looking at the information available. Okay, let's look at another example that we discussed on Friday. So we discussed this. It's a way to solve a problem. This was this was a frequency table that we took and used, reorganized it on a line plot. And then we were to write a question that can be answered by using the data displays. So it was simply, it was really easy to look at the information and ask yourself what age group has the least number of players. And if you look at the line plot, which is very simple, the frequency table is easy as well, but the line plot works very effective. We can simply say 7 years old. Okay, we also worked on, we reviewed what a tally chart, a frequency table, and a line plot are. So a tally chart can be used to record and organize data. A frequency table shows how many times an event occurs. So it is usually a number that we are tracking of how many in a certain span of time or group. The line plot shows the frequency of data on a number line. And so the line plot really takes the information that we can record in a tally chart and a frequency table and set it in a way that is easy for us to identify and gather and explain the information. So if we were to answer this question where we've left a blank, tally charts, frequency tables, and line plots are tools to blank the data and information. So think about it, and if you answer the question to organize the data and information, you are correct. It's simply a way for us to use the information that is available to us. We also worked on this page, and some of you were a little confused, so we're going to just review again. So I've cut this and pasted a little bit so that we have the information all right here, but it's not on one page. It's kind of next side by side. So the questions are answered using this information we have right here. So number one, it says, how many basketball players are 10 years old? Okay, we simply have to come over here to our table and count out how many students are 10 years old, and it clearly identifies that there are 4 with the dots, 1, 2, 3, 4 right here. Okay, if I've done that right, 4. Okay, the next question, again, review. What age appears the most often? Simply going across and looking at the line plot is the simplest process, and it's clear that 9 years old is the most often. Okay, are there more players younger than 9 or more players that are older than 9? And we also answer this one, that there are more players older than 9. And that's simply, we don't have to even count. We just simply identify it on the line plot and it's clear. Okay, write another question that can be answered by using the data displays. So I chose the question, how many students were surveyed, surveyed in all. And if we count out our plots, we should be able to identify simply, or just count our tally marks. We could certainly identify how many students participated. This was a challenge for some of you. We had a little trouble getting this off the ground, but let's discuss this. First of all, let's read the instructions because we never make the right choices if we don't. Measure the length of the hand span of 10 classmates to the nearest ½ inch. Have your classmates spread their fingers apart as far as possible and measure from the tip of their thumb to the tip of their little finger. Record the data in the tally chart below and then make a frequency table. Okay, so what I did was I simply took 10 students. This was actually students from last year, but we can certainly look at the data. We have 5.5 inches, 6, 6.5, 7, 7.5, and 8. And every student that were measured fit between 5.5 and 8. So if you look at the tally marks that we've identified right here, that there are 10 tally marks because that is what we were told to do, 10 classmates. Now we've taken this information and we've moved it to the frequency table. Again, the information is displayed in the same way, 5.5 to 8 inches, and then the tally marks are the same. There's not going to be any difference between the tally chart and the frequency table. Now let's look at the data that's displayed on the line plot. So we simply had to just take pieces of information and move them over. 5.5 to 8 inches is the hand span length, and then we've identified the tally marks with a star. So we have 5.5, we have 1. Here we have 6, we have 2. 6.5 inches, we have 3. 7, we have 2. 7.5, we have 1. And 8, we have 1. Now that is 10 students. Nothing has changed. We did not have to come up with any new information. We simply displayed it in a more easily read information. So we can answer the question quickly. Which length occurred the most often? Clearly, it is 6.5 inches. Now I came up with a question. What hand span has the greatest number of students? So write a question that can be answered by using the data in the line plot. We could simply say how many students have hands smaller than 6.5, how many students have hands larger than 6.5. Simply identifying how many students and quickly using this tool to explain information. It organizes it and makes it simply easy to read. Okay, so let's review the information that we have just discussed. First of all, the graphs that we were discussing are utilized to collect and organize data. Tally charts, frequency tables, and line plots make it easy for us to identify quickly and effectively what the information that we need to share or information that we want to use to answer questions. Utilizing this data helps us, it's easy for us to solve problems. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and we will talk about this, practice this a little later. Thank you.